Welcome to She Sells Radio, my friend. I am so excited for today's episode. And I'm excited because I think I'm going to learn some stuff too. And so, as I record this, I just got off a call with my amazing 50K club ladies. And I love those conversations because it's a higher level conversation because it's kind of like they've gotten the doing part down, right? I think usually when you're at that level and you're ready to go from low six figures to mid or high, you know how to do the grind, right? You know how to do the work, you know how to do the structure and systems, but you're also aware that there's a higher level way to create, or you at least hope there is, that doesn't require a constant grind to the top. And you're ready to learn a different way of doing, which is more about being. How can I be an energetic match for what I want to create? And so to me, those are always my favorite conversations to have these days, because that's what I work on. If you're ever like, which you're probably not, but if you're like, what does Elise do in her spare time? Elise pretty much works on being an energetic match a lot to what she wants. And now you know. So aside from family and life and friends and all that. But with that being said, the way I like to think about the She Sells brand, and I think maybe an easy to understand analogy for a lot of people is it's kind of like if we blend together Grant Cardone and Abraham Hicks, and you would get this magical mix and mashup that is She Sells. And today we're going to be a lot more on the Abraham Hicks side, which if you're not familiar with, just go Google or YouTube and your life will be changed. But what I want to share today is this concept that came to me as I was listening to Ask and It's Given, which is one of their books. Listening to this book for, I don't know how, the umpteenth time. And it's every time you come back to it, at least for me, I get so much more out of it because I'm in a different life circumstance. I'm coming at it from a different level of consciousness. It's true. It's like you can revisit the same material again and again, and it will be very new and fresh for you because who you are is different. But I was listening to the book yesterday, and there was this segment where I was like, oh, selfishly, I want to dig into this and I want to talk about this on the podcast because I want to practice this more in my own life. And it's this concept of manifesting kind of like cooking. And I know that's going to sound weird, maybe if you have not read the book, but I want to read to you just this couple of lines. It's actually like two paragraphs from the book. And then I want to break this down for you and talk about what are some specific tactical things that you can do and mindset shifts you can have to help whatever it is that you desire to create. I know if you're listening to this, you probably desire to create greater financial abundance. And I also know for a lot of the people who I work with, there's much greater things we want to create as well, right? Whether that's a certain amount of impact, whether it's launching a new business or program, whether it's launching a podcast, moving to a new part of the world, right? Creating a new car. There's all these things. There's all these things that you're desiring to create, most likely. And how do you do it faster, with greater pleasure, with more enjoyment? And how do you massively release any resistance that you currently have to receiving it in your life? So I'm going to get in book reading mode. This is bringing me back. If you were with me last year, I was doing the daily, what was it, 8:30 a.m. live stream where I would read from different books and we would get into it together. This is bringing me back to those vibes, which I love. Okay, so this is coming from the chapter of You Are Co-Creating with a Magnificently Diverse Universe. And this particular section says, do not put those unwanted ingredients in your pie. I love this so much. All right, let's get into it. So the book says, imagine yourself as a chef in an extremely well-stocked kitchen that contains every imaginable ingredient. Let us say that you have a clear idea of the culinary creation you desire, and you understand how to combine these easily accessible ingredients in order to fulfill your desire. And as you proceed, there are many ingredients that are not appropriate for your creation. So you do not utilize them, but you also feel no discomfort about their existence. You simply utilize the ingredients that will enhance your creation, and you leave the ingredients that are not appropriate for your creation out of your pie. Some of the ingredients in this well-stocked kitchen are harmonious with your creation, and some of them are not. But even though adding some of these ingredients to your creation would absolutely ruin your pie, you do not feel the need to push against those ingredients or to ban them from the kitchen, because you understand there's no reason for them to end up in your pie unless you put them in it. And since you're clear about which ones enhance your creation and which ones do not enhance it, you feel no concern about the great variety of ingredients that exist. Ooh, so I feel like there's so much to get into with this. And I think part of what really inspired me to bring this to you on the podcast is when I think about, you and the members of our community, I think we're all to some extent shifting old ways of thinking, shifting old habits, shifting what we're available for and what we're not available for. But like, you're in it with the change. If you're She Sells community member, I know that maybe you're not quite there yet, but you want to be, like, you're ready for big change. There's every single one of the clients who I work with, more hands-on and who I know personally, like, they are in big change. And when we decide that we're ready for a big change and we're ready for more and we're ready to, I love on our 50K club call, we were talking about kind of this declaration I made close to 2 years ago now that had inspired one of our members. And it was to experience the fullness of who I am. And she's really adopted that in her life, and it's showing in her results and in her social media. And I know that for many in our community as well, that's part of it, right? It's like, I just want to see what's possible for me, and who am I without all these limiting beliefs, and who am I when I really just lean more into, like, falling in love with myself again. And when we decide to do that, there's a shakeup often, and we find ourselves almost, my friend Allison talks about, like, doing mental gymnastics. Like, let me flip this thought upside down on its head. And, oh, there's this old pattern that I'm running into, and I see it popping up again. And and this is for myself too. Like, it's so easy to let your focus go to, gosh, I should know better than to do this by now, or I should be farther along, or why isn't this happening yet? Or she has it, but I don't, yada, yada. And to me, this analogy of thinking of yourself like a chef in a kitchen with whatever it is that you're creating was so powerful for a number of different reasons. And so the first thing is really just the energy of it. So whatever your goal is right now, think about it kind of like something that you're creating, and you're a chef in a kitchen. And I'm not like, a 5-star chef. I cook maybe a couple times a week for our family. Jason does most of the cooking. But I can cook, and I love baking too. Baking is kind of my jam. But so I thought about, like, okay, what's the energy when I go to bake something? There's zero concerns or freakouts or F's given about, oh my gosh, is it okay for me to bake? What if everything I need isn't there? Although sometimes I will say I've had a moment where I was like, I thought we had chocolate chips and we don't, this is a problem. But it's not freaking out like end of the world, I was never meant to bake these cookies type of energy, right? This is turning into a slightly silly, ridiculous episode, but you bear with me, because I really think there's actually some gold in here for you. So it's what's that energy when you go to cook something? Are you worried? Are you concerned about what? Again, I want to laugh about this. Sometimes I am concerned about whether it's going to turn out okay. But it has zero bearing on my worthiness as a person if I cook something and it's not what I was anticipating. we kind of laugh and we cook it again, right? Or we order in. Anyway, coming back to the whole point of this thing is like, you're not in freak out mode about, is this going to turn out okay or not? Am I going to have the ingredients or not? What do? You get the desire. I want to make pasta for dinner tonight. Okay, great. What ingredients do I need? Okay, cool. Do I have those? If I do, good. Let me go ahead and move forward. Or if I don't, what am I going to do? I'm going to go to the store and get them. I'm going to Instacart them. I'm going to have someone bring them home for me. Right. And then I'm going to cook. And it's that energy, like that is the energy where we manifest most powerfully. And I remember I was listening to Catherine Senkina's podcast years ago, and gosh, I Manifestation Babe podcast. If you don't listen to it, I think it's phenomenal. But I remember she said something about the energy when you're manifesting of like, just pass the salt, like let it be that casual when you're like, what, maybe you need to call in $10,000, $20,000, $100,000 this month, right? Have the energy with it of pass the salt. It's that. How you know that something is coming for you is it feels very natural. It feels very normal. It feels, this is how you know you're a match for something. And it doesn't feel big. It doesn't feel unusual. It doesn't feel large. It's like, pass the salt. So I think if we can compare it to the energy of cooking, which is relatively drama-free, unless you're in a house with a toddler like I am, and there's food being thrown at all angles. Again, I digress, but it's relatively drama-free. That's the most powerful energy to manifest from. And so coming back to the cooking analogy here, what do you do if you don't have an ingredient that you need for what you're cooking? You go get it. Or you get someone to bring it to you. It's that. So how do we do that from an energetic standpoint, right? Like, let's say that you desire to make $50,000 this month and the money has a purpose, right? So, okay, desire to make $50,000. What ingredients, if I was going to cook this as a meal in a kitchen, what ingredients would I need? Well, you need some customers probably, right? If you can do it with what you're already selling, then great, you've got that. If you can't, then maybe you need to, if you're an entrepreneur, launch a new program. Or if you're, if you're, again, like check in with what do I already have? As if you're a salesperson, like go get some referrals, right? And you do that if you're an entrepreneur too. Like, can I do it? Do I already have all the ingredients in place? The point of this, coming back to this, is do I have all the ingredients in place to cook up $50,000 this month? Or if I don't, what ingredients do I need? Do I need more people? Do I need a different program? Do I need, more faith, right? A lot of times that's it. It's almost always the energetics, but just check in on what are the ingredients that are needed. And maybe it's clarity. Maybe it's, hey, I was having a conversation with a private client this morning who desires to bring in about $36,000 more this month. And we were just talking through like, what would that look like? And how she could do it in the most joyful way. And one of the pieces that I left her with was clarity on what's the most joyful, light, easy, fun way for you to create this additional capital this month for yourself. And that is often the missing ingredient that we start with. But so if you don't have the clarity on it, that's fine. Again, take the energy of cooking. You just go get it. How do you get anything that you're missing energetically? You go into meditation, visualization, you get clear on what you want. And sometimes that getting clear on is, I want clarity, right? Well, you get clear on what you want, and then you feel, how does it feel to have that? And in the example of clarity, you can think of, well, I don't feel clear about this right now, but has there been another time where I felt clarity? Ooh, what was that? What did that feel like? Let me feel into that and bring that feeling into the now. So energetically, we go get any ingredient we need by getting a clear picture of what it is in our minds and then emotionalizing it as if it was already done. And it's done. It's done. You got your ingredient. Now, if you, again, think about it just like you just ordered it from Instacart, right? Or from shop. I mean, you bought it online. Like, are you worried that it's going to come? Are you panicking? Are you like, oh my gosh, maybe I should have put 5 in the cart instead of the 2? That's what I really need. No, right? You're chill. You're like, cool. I put in the order. Now I'm going to let it get to me. It's that energy with it. So imagine yourself already having it, feel gratitude for it, and then you know it's done and you leave it alone. Now, again, with manifesting, because typically there is action involved. Sometimes there's not a lot, but typically there's some sort of action that we're asked to take. Pay attention to the nudges, pay attention to the downloads from that place if it's already done. If you suddenly feel inspired to call a customer, do a social post, whatever, like pay attention to that. Your job is to act on those things and act on them as quickly as you possibly can. But you're not in any sort of contradictory energy about whether what you need is coming or not, because you know it's already done. So it's that type of like really chill, laid back energy. That's also what's coming through about this now is like, it's about anticipating the enjoyment of the experience, right? So when we cook, and I used to be way too impatient to cook, I'd be like, just give it to me now. That's very much my personality for many years. Just give it to me now. I don't want to wait. I've learned to really get more into the experience of creation over the years. And so for me, that's part of what's fun now about cooking and about creating is like, what's it going to be like to enjoy this with a lot of people? And what's it going to be like to serve this to people? And how's that going to feel? And think about that too with what you're creating now. What's that energy like of positive expectation, positive anticipation, feeling into it that way? Like this is the vibe, my friend. Like this is how we do it. So that piece stood out really powerfully to me about just the energy of cooking. And then the other piece that I think is so powerful in there is how they talk about just because there's a bunch of ingredients in the kitchen, you don't have to use them all. And even more than that, if anything unwanted ends up in the pie, it's because you put it there, my friend. So this is meant to be a very empowering conversation where we remember that just because there's a lot of stuff, and Abraham Hicks calls it contrast, right? So if you really get into this work, which I find so profoundly helpful, it's like the contrast, which is typically things that don't feel good or that we realize we don't want. They help us clarify. It helps us clarify what we do want. So there's nothing wrong with it. Whether that contrast is a low income month, a health scare, an unenjoyable client experience, right? Those things are all there to help us clarify what we do want. But just because they're there, it doesn't mean we have to keep putting them into what we're cooking if they're not in alignment with what we want. They can live in the kitchen. They can be there. Like just because there's pepper in the kitchen doesn't mean I've got to put it in my blueberry pie, right? I can see it. I can notice it's there, but I don't have to push against it. I don't need to go on a rampage to get rid of the pepper. I don't need to make it wrong for being there. Like it's just there. It's up to me whether I want to use it or not. And again, how often do we let our focus or our attention when we're in the creation process of creating something wonderful for ourselves? And again, I think about all of my clients and all of the incredible women and humans in the She Sells community. It's like, they're all creating something really beautiful for themselves, whether it's for most all of them, it's another level of financial abundance. It can be a different living situation than they've ever had before. Some of them are calling in relationships right now too, but they're going to be different. There's going to be contrast along the way. Like you're going to notice along the way images or visuals on the news of scarcity. You're going to notice people in unhappy relationships. You're going to, maybe if you're working in a sales office, like You're going to notice people talking about there's not enough, prices are up everywhere right now, customers are saying no, yada, yada. Like you can kind of think about like those are all ingredients in the kitchen that you're in, but it's up to you whether you're going to use them or not, and whether you're going to put them in your pie or not. And it's that level of like not caring, not that we don't have compassion and love and care for everyone, because we do, because we are all connected, but it's that level of like, I'm not, just because someone else is having that experience, it doesn't mean I've got to put that in what I'm creating too. If I'm creating another level of, do you want greater abundance, right? Do you want to have your best sales month yet? If so, why are you going to go add fear, scarcity, doubt, worry, not enoughness into that creation? Do any of those belong in what you're creating? Is there any level of scarcity in your next level of abundance? Is there any level of doubt in like when you have your best sales month yet? How does that feel? Does that feel doubtful? Does that feel fearful? Or does that feel like, yes, like accomplishment, achievement, right? So you are the only one who can put the ingredients into your pie that you're creating. But why are you going to grab for the doubt when that's not in alignment with what you're creating? Okay. So to me, that part of being aware that there will always be plenty of ingredients for you to play with, and that's kind of the world that we're in, but that you're in full creative control of what you put into what you're baking or cooking or creating. It's so much, it's like, of course, like we don't have to overcomplicate this, right? And to me, it helps just release a lot of resistance to have that different level, a different mindset with it. And a couple months back, I read this book, Dying to Be Me by Anita Moorjani. She and Wayne Dyer did a lot of work together before he passed. And phenomenal book. Go get it. It was one of the most shifting books of my life, but she died, she had a near-death experience and came back. But she goes into vivid detail about what it was like in her near-death experience and connecting with loved ones on the other side and all of that. And she said, the universe is like this huge storehouse of everything you could ever possibly imagine that's just at your disposal. Like it's just there, and the most, lights and flashy, like she was like, just imagine this huge storehouse that's bigger than you can ever imagine, of like flashing lights and things that you don't even recognize, and doodads and this and that. And it's like, it's all there, and it's all literally at your disposal to do whatever you want with. And so sometimes we select the things that create contrast for us or that don't go in the pie. But if we select it and realize we don't want it, what you do is put it back and then go find what we want and go look for what we want. And so to me, that's such a powerful reminder of you create with your focus. Like that's how, if you want to take this and make this, like drill this down to what does this really look like in real life? Whatever you're focused on is what you're cooking right now. That's it. And so are you cooking something you don't want to eat? Or are you cooking something that's going to be beautiful? And are you getting, if you need different ingredients than you currently have you asked for those? Like, remembering literally the title of this book, Ask and It Is Given, it is done. And you hold them at bay, and you like put the Instacart delivery driver into confusion, circling around your house. If you go into freak out about, is it coming? Is it coming? Is it coming? Right. You can kind of think about that. Like, I'm holding them at bay when all I needed to do was ask and just be grateful that it's on its way. So this is, I think that's it for you. I'm just thinking, is there anything else I want to share? No, I really think this is it. I love playing with these concepts as it pertains to sales, as it pertains to your business, and of course, as it pertains to your whole life too, because just so much has shifted in my life as a result of knowing this, and knowing that you don't have to, like, it doesn't have to be hard. Knowing how much more powerful you are than you even realize, knowing that the easier you let it be, the more in alignment you are, knowing that your resistance or yeah, your resistance to receiving what you want is really the only thing that's holding you back from having it. This is something else they say in the book is like, the only reason you don't have something yet that you've declared that you want is because you've got a level of resistance to it. This is the other thing I was going to share. You can go back on my YouTube. If you're listening to this podcast, you can go on my YouTube at Elise Archer and watch the series I did a little over a year ago now on how to release resistance to what you want, which is based on the teachings of this phenomenal book. And that'll give you like real life, just practical things you can do to help release resistance to what you want. But when we couple this knowledge with best in class sales practices, best in class marketing practices, et cetera, you skyrocket. I mean, your results will just skyrocket. And this is the secret sauce to it. So this was fun for me to talk about. I hope you enjoyed it. I'd love if you have questions or you want to DM me and let me know what showed up for you with this. I'd love to hear it. And let me know too, send me a DM. What do you want more of on the show? Do you want more of you want more Grant Cardone or Abraham Hicks style stuff? Because I'm here for both of it. I'm definitely here for both of it. I'm super lit up about the inner work these days. And I also know that we need that tactical structure and systems and support to be able to really, really source. So I'm here for all of it. Send me a DM. Let me know. I've got a bunch of amazing conversations coming up for you with just some incredible leaders in the sales space. So that's going to be super powerful for you too. But let me know what you want to hear more of. And when I'm doing a solo episode, I'd love to lean into that for you. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you laughed at my cooking analogies. I'm grateful for you listening and being here. And I'll see you next week on our next episode of She Sells Radio. Bye for now.